Welcome everyone to another episode of Gaming Corner. Now, if you haven't yet, I do recommend taking a look at the previous episode talking about video game movies. Cause for today's episode, we will be discussing the supposed upcoming Zelda movie. There is actually very little that we know about it besides Wes Ball being the director, and its release date of being March 26, 2027. Which still does leave the question on what direction they plan to take this movie. The three directions I can think of are either completely adapted from the games, a timeline split from the main timeline, or in its own timeline itself. Now, of course, adapting it game by game would probably be the least likely, as this would also be the most difficult, with one issue being whether to start chronologically with Skyward Sword, or how the games released with the first Legend of Zelda. Plus, this option gives them less room to play around with and try and be creative, which leads to the idea of another timeline split. This would of course give them more to work with, as they can make this timeline go the way they'd want it to. Maybe something that splits off of Skyward Sword, like Girahim fails the first time in reviving Demise and comes back later. And of course, the most likely direction that they'll take is doing like Sonic and Mario, making their own separate timeline that still fits within the Zelda franchise. This would give them the most creative outlet, and with Miyamoto involved, would possibly be the most successful path to take. Now, with as intricate as the Zelda story is, this would bring in the question of would they use Demise as the first villain to bring in his curse at the end, or would they use that as a backstory so that they can have the most iconic Ganondorf start out? Certainly many theories and roads that could be taken, and hopefully ones that will be thoroughly thought out. Now, as far as the casting direction, there is one thing that I was hoping to wait until the next Gaming Corner to talk about, but has become too much in the news to wait. I am of course talking about the possibility of Hunter Schafer playing Princess Zelda. Now, these are typically topics that I don't get into, as this is not what the channel is all about. However, it does directly affect this discussion, and so therefore I will have to make an exception. Now, there are some people who are afraid that the direction in which this is going in is by making Zelda trans. And of course, this comes from the fact that the actor possibly portraying her is trans. Now, for me, when it comes to characters who already exist, I'd rather they stay the way they were established. That being said, the fact that Hunter Schafer is trans is not proof that they're going to do the same thing to Zelda. And it's not like it hasn't been done before, to where a cisgendered actor has portrayed a character of the opposite gender. Plus, I'd like to think that with Nintendo and Miyamoto being involved, that no matter who is casted, they wouldn't allow for anything that would ruin the story or the characters that they've already established. So I'd honestly would have no problem with Hunter taking the role as long as they kept Zelda herself the same. But I'll get more into that in the next Gaming Corner when I talk about fan casting theories. But until then, comment what you think the direction may be about where they're going with the storyline. And you can also respectively give your opinion on what you think about the possible casting direction. Also, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. Also, check out some of my other content. And until next time, keep gaming.